Leo entered the soundproof studio of the abandoned radio station, the absolute silence at first a welcome relief. He had moved to this remote countryside building to escape the city's noise, intending to turn it into a hub for chilling podcasts. Tales that made listeners question their own reality. For his first broadcast, he planned to talk about the snare, an old town legend. The myth described a dormant shadow within every person, a whisper that could take hold of a soul at its most vulnerable. He turned on the microphone and took a deep breath.
Good evening, lonely listeners. Tonight, we begin with a story that preys on more than just the reflection you see in the mirror.
As the broadcast went on, a storm began to rage outside. The story he was narrating was about a man who lost his own reflection, only for a whisper from the mirror to begin to control his life. Just as he reached the most tense moment, the studio lights flickered and died. His heart pounding, Leo turned on his flashlight. Its beam landed on an old photograph on the soundboard. It showed the radio station's former owner, a gaunt-faced man whose eyes seemed to glow in the dark. Leo looked at the date scrawled beneath the photo, 1978. Below it, in shaky handwriting, was a note: "Do not speak to it." At that moment, a static-filled whisper came from the microphone. It was his own voice, but the words were reversed.
It to speak, not do.
Leo, in a state of shock and terror, slammed the microphone's mute button. The whisper stopped. With trembling hands, he swept the flashlight around the room. The studio door was locked. He wondered where the whisper had come from. He was certain it had come from the mic, yet the voice was his. Was it an echo of himself, or something else entirely? After a few tense minutes, the lights came back on. Leo picked up the photograph again. This time, the expression on the man's face seemed to have changed. His eyes appeared more alive, and a faint smirk played on his lips. It was as if he was listening to Leo, even mocking him. Leo, unnerved, threw the photo across the room. He checked his social media, seeing a flood of messages about the broadcast suddenly cutting out. Listeners were asking about the strange, reversed voice they'd heard just before the silence. The comment that chilled him to the bone was from a single user.
That whisper wasn't your voice. It was your shadow's voice.
Leo, a shiver running down his spine, looked at the glass pane of the sound booth. There, he could...
Leo was not alone in the studio.
Yet he was all alone. In a panic, he took out his phone and started a live stream. He wanted to show the world what was happening. Trying to keep his voice steady, he spoke to his phone.
Listen, I think there's more in this old radio station than just my stories.
He panned his phone's camera around the studio, showing the scattered equipment, the microphone, and the reflection of the hallway in the glass.
Right now, I can see something there.
The comments came in instantly.
What do you see?
There's nothing there but an empty hallway. Calm down, Leo. It's just your reflection.
Leo looked at the screen and realized he couldn't see the shadow on his phone. He began to question his sanity. Was he having a panic attack? Or had he become so engrossed in his horror stories that he was losing his grasp on reality? He tried to calm himself, checked the door again, and this time found the lock was broken. He had to get out, and fast. He moved toward the door. Just as he was about to touch the handle, he felt a cold breath on the back of his neck. It felt like his own breath, but with a scent of decay. He spun around. No one was there, just an old, empty studio. Yet, he heard a whisper from within.
Do not be afraid. We are one.
The whisper was an echoing version of his own voice. Leo couldn't tell what was real and what was a hallucination. Was his own mind playing tricks on him, or was he truly being possessed by an entity? He managed to get out of the studio and started running down the hallway. But no matter how fast he ran, he couldn't reach the exit door. The corridor was endless. The cracks in the walls began to twist and contort, mirroring the strange rooms from the photograph. Whispers came from everywhere. The walls, the ceiling, the floor. All of them with different inflections of his own voice, leading him deeper into the labyrinth.
Don't run. You can't escape. I am you, and you are me.
Leo suddenly stopped and tried to find the source of the whispers. They weren't coming from his ears, but from inside his mind. That's when he remembered the note from the studio. Do not speak to it. That was the snare. This entity was waiting for him to communicate. The slightest reaction would be an invitation to lose himself. Leo instinctively wanted to scream, "Who are you?" But he forced himself to stay silent. He just stood still and listened. As he remained silent, the whispers grew more and more violent, turning into a painful ringing. His head throbbed, his vision blurred. He collapsed to the floor.
When Leo opened his eyes,
He was back in the soundproof studio, sitting in front of the microphone. But everything was different. The lights were bright and clean. The radio station looked new. The glass of the soundboard showed a clear, empty view of the corridor. There was no shadow. The flashlight was gone. The note was gone. The broken lights were gone. He had just finished narrating his story. Everything was normal. He took a deep breath of relief and said,
That's all the time we have tonight. Thank you for listening.
When the broadcast ended, silence once again filled the studio. Leo stood up from his chair, a sense of calm washing over him. However, a small note on the soundboard caught his eye. In his own handwriting, it read, "Do not speak to it." Leo stared at the note in confusion. He felt the outer door of the studio creak open slightly. In the hallway, a shadow was whispering with his own voice.
Now I will speak to them.
Leo, without understanding what was happening, closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he realized the reflection he saw in the mirror was not his own. It was the empty, cold gaze of what was once his shadow, and he slowly reached out and adjusted the microphone. Tonight, he was the one telling the story.